In April 2022, a Ukraine's-built missile managed to change the whole course of the naval warfare in the Black Sea, and I'm sure that you know this story. Ukraine's Neptune missile struck and sank the Moskva, the flagship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. It was a moment that literally shocked the whole world, a David versus Goliath victory in the open waters. But how did Ukraine develop a weapon that was powerful enough to take down one of Russia's most formidable warships? What makes the Neptune so deadly, and how has it reshaped the modern warfare? My dear friends, let's talk about some of Ukraine's most successful cruise missiles, the mighty Neptune. Of course, the Neptune missile wasn't built overnight, my friends. Its development began in the early 2010s when Ukraine realized that it needed a modern coastal defense systems. At the time, the country relied on outdated Soviet weapons, and the Neptune itself was based on the Soviet Ha-35 missile, but it was significantly improved. Remember, in the previous episodes, we talked about Stugna P, designed by the Kiev-based company Luch. That is the very same company which brought Neptune to life. Ukrainian experts made the missile longer, gave it better electronics, and extended its range, and the missile was designed to be launched from the land-based mobile systems, making it harder for enemies to detect and destroy before it fired. And personally, I think that it was a brilliant solution because Ukraine used the multiple launch rocket systems it already had in its storage. It means that basically a dozen of Neptune missiles can be launched from a single platform and strike different targets. By 2018, the first successful tests took place, and 2 years later, the Neptune officially entered service. It was built to destroy enemy warships up to 300 kilometers or 186 miles away. Flying just 10-15 meters above the sea level, that is between 30 and 50 feet, and dropping to only 3 to 5 meters, that is 10 to 16 feet near its target, the missile was very difficult to detect and intercept. It carried a 150 kilogram or 330-pound warhead. The system included a command vehicle, radar truck, and mobile launchers, allowing Ukraine to fire Neptune missiles from hidden locations along the coast. This flexibility gave Ukraine a serious advantage when defending against naval threats. But back then, few expected Neptune to prove itself in a real combat until 13th of April 2022, when it struck the Russian warship Moskva. That moment changed everything. On the evening of 13th of April 2022, the flagship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, known as Moskva, was patrolling near Ukraine's southern coast at 186 meters or 610 feet long and carrying powerful air defense systems. The Moskva was supposed to be nearly untouchable, but that night a series of mistakes would make it an easy target. The warship was sailing about 100 kilometers or 62 miles off the coast of Odessa, possibly feeling safe at that distance. But Ukraine's Neptune missile had a range of 300 kilometers, well within the striking distance. Around 4 p.m., Ukraine launched two Neptune missiles from a hidden coastal position, flying low over the water, nearly invisible to the Russian radars. The missiles closed in on their target. The Moskva's defenses should have detected them, but several critical failures didn't let it happen. Again, we're talking about the Russian superpower, where everything is going according to plan. It is known that Russians made several critical mistakes. First of all, radar blind spots, because the Moskva's radar was designed to track aircraft and high-altitude threats, not low-flying cruise missiles like the Neptune. Because of this, the ship's crew likely spotted the missiles too late, and generally in such cases, Moskva should have been escorted by smaller ships designed to intercept low-flying targets, which didn't happen. Also, it is apparent that the electronic warfare system installed on Moskva probably also failed because Moskva had a jamming system meant to interfere with incoming missile guidance. However, either those systems weren't activated or they failed to disrupt the Neptune missiles, but again, the electronic warfare systems didn't help. And also, apparently, there was a factor of complacency and poor readiness because despite being in a war zone, the Moskva's crew seemed unprepared for an attack. Some reports suggest that its air defense systems weren't fully active, possibly because the crew underestimated Ukraine's ability to strike at sea, which also resulted in overconfidence in the ship's size and armor. The Russian command likely believed that the Moskva could withstand a missile hit. However, the very ship's design dated back to the Soviet era and it wasn't equipped to handle modern anti-ship missiles. Around 4:20 p.m., both Neptune missiles struck the Russian flagship. One is believed to have hit the middle of the ship, while the other struck closer to the stern. The explosions caused massive fire, setting off ammunition storages inside the ship. With the flames spreading, the crew struggled to contain the damage. A few hours later, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported that Moskva was badly damaged due to a fire and ammunition explosion. They claimed the crew had been evacuated, but different reports suggest that hundreds of Russian sailors must have been trapped inside as the ship began to sink. Frankly speaking, I love it how the Russian propaganda handles such cases. You know, a fire on board of the Russian flagship caused it to sink. What caused the explosion? We don't know, and generally, who cares? Consider it was a God's will. Putin decided to sacrifice ship to expose Ukrainian firing positions. And my favorite one, the flagship performed a negative surfacing. We know that Russians have never published any comprehensive investigation results because who really cares? Russian slaves are not supposed to know such information, they're not supposed to know the truth, and generally, Russian women will bear Putin new soldiers anyways. That is the typical Russian mentality. Anyways, by the morning of 14th of April, the Russian flagship Moskva was gone, swallowed by the Black Sea. It was the largest warship sunk in combat since World War II, and the loss of Russia's flagship was not just a military defeat, it was a huge blow to Russian morale and a major victory for Ukraine's defenders. Since the sinking of the Moskva in April 2022, Ukraine's Neptune missiles have been employed in several notable operations. First of all, destruction of Russia's S-400 air defense systems. In August and September 2023, Ukrainian forces used modified Neptune missiles to target and destroy Russian S-400s in Crimea. These strikes significantly weakened Russian aerial defense capabilities in the region. Then we all remember the attacks on Russian warships in Sevastopol. In September 2023, Neptune missiles were reportedly used to heavily damage two Russian vessels docked in Sevastopol, further showcasing the missile's effectiveness against naval targets. The Neptune was also utilized to strike the Russian military infrastructure. Throughout 2024, Ukraine extended the use of Neptune missiles to target land-based military assets, including military warehouse in Russia's Rostov region in January 2025. As you can probably tell, Neptune missiles were not used against the ships only anymore. And you are right, because Ukraine has undertaken significant modifications to this weapon. These adaptations have transformed the Neptune into a versatile land attack cruise missile, enhancing Ukraine's strategic capabilities. To enable precise strike on land-based targets, Ukrainian engineers developed a new guidance system that incorporated advanced inertial navigation and GPS technologies. This upgrade allowed the missile to accurately engage stationary ground targets. The Neptune's warhead was also enhanced due to the need for greater impact against fortified land targets. The missile warhead was increased from its initial 150 kilograms to approximately 350 kilograms. And then the range was also extended. Efforts have been made to increase the missile's range beyond its original 300 kilometers. As of April 2024, Ukraine was working on extending the range of the Neptune missile to 1,000 kilometers, which significantly improved its strategic reach. Besides Neptune, it is known that Ukraine has been developing and deploying several other cruise missile systems to enhance its defense capabilities against Russia. For example, PACLO missile, also referred to as a drone missile. That is a system capable of striking targets up to 700 kilometers away at a speed of 700 kilometers per hour. It's been effectively used in combat to target and disable key Russian military and oil infrastructure facilities over the past year. Then there's Trimbita cruise missile that was revealed publicly in April 2023. Trimbita is a surface-to-surface cruise missile powered by a pulse jet engine, allowing it to reach speeds of about 400 kilometers per hour with a range of approximately 140 kilometers. Its low production cost enables mass deployment to overwhelm enemy air defenses. And the most mysterious Ukrainian weapon at this point is Palyanitsa missile. Not much known about this specific weapon, but the whole world expects to see it being utilized against Russian targets in the observable future. Unlike the notorious Russian Oreshnik that is only able to scare Joe Rogan, Ukrainian missile weaponry proved to be effective and deadly, and the mighty Neptune itself already went down in history as a brilliant example of technology used against tyranny. Dear friends, let me know if you like this episode and leave your questions in the commentaries. Thanks for watching. I'm Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.